Today we are taking a look at Kinnan Born a Prodigy and how I made one of my most insane plays in the recent time. At this point we had 5 lands in play, a Mockingbird that entered as Sisay's Bloom Tender, Mirror Maid that enters as Relic of Legends also from Sisay, a Grim Monolith and a Valley Floodcaller. We start off the turn by tapping 1 mana for a Retraction Helix, triggering Valley Floodcaller for an untapped trigger on Mockingbird. In response to that we have a Time activation, and in response to that we do a Kinnan activation. In response of that though, there is a Sis activation, finding herself a Ragavan. This Ragavan then gets used to do another Sis activation, find herself a Spider Woman, letting all our creatures and artifacts enter tapped. In response to our Kinnan activation there is another Time activation, sacrificing Formidable Speaker into the Carrion Feeder. In response to that we do another Kinnan activation, unfortunately don't find anything. With the first Time activation he fortunately doesn't find anything interesting, but with our second Kinnan activation we are able to find a Clever Impersonator, entering as a copy of Voice of Victory from the 14th Doctor player. Time activation resolves and he finds him a Deafening Silence. The Valley Floodcaller trigger resolves, untapping Mockingbird, then we tap Valley Floodcaller and Bloom Tender for 2 blue and 1 green and use the Retraction Helix ability to bounce Deafening Silence. Then we cast a Mirage Mirror, untapping both our creatures, tapping Valley Floodcaller to bounce our Basalt Monolith and also tapping Bloom Tender for 2 blue and 1 green. Then in response to Mirage Mirror cast, we cast Grim Monolith, triggering Valley Floodcaller and Bloom Tender again, using Valley to bounce our Mirror Maid back to our hand and tapping Bloom Tender for 2 blue and 1 green. We then use 1 green and 2 blue to cast Mirror Maid. Then we get another Valley Floodcaller trigger and Bloom Tender, tap Bloom Tender for 2 blue and 1 green and use Valley Floodcaller to bounce the Spider Woman back to Sis's hand. Then we let Mirror Maid resolve, entering as a copy of Relic of Legends. We then tap Relic for 2 mana, let Grim Monolith resolve for 4 colorless, and then in response to Mirage Mirror cast we pay 4 colorless, 1 green, 2 blue and hard cast our Commandeer targeting Mirage Mirror. We get another Bloom Tender and Valley Floodcaller trigger, then use Valley Floodcaller to bounce Grim Monolith back to our hands, and can now press in a loop of infinite colorless mana and blue plus green mana to then filter through our library until we find Thrasios and then draw our library until we find Funnel of Devastation and kill our opponents.